Straight ahead on CCX News, Osseo High School in the gun control spotlight as students from Parkland, Florida pay a visit to the school. Plus, a Brooklyn Center coffee business focused on a greater goal beyond just curing people's caffeine cravings. And come and get them quickly. We're in Maple Grove to explain why strawberry season is especially short this year. CCX News starts right now. Hello and thanks for joining us. We begin with a Brooklyn Park-based healthcare company under further investigation.
Could the deaths of 2 residents be connected to one nurse? It's what Brooklyn Park investigators are trying to find out. The Star Tribune reports that on Friday, police entered the headquarters of Plateau Healthcare, seizing medical records and other potential evidence related to the deaths of 2 residents. One of them, Douglas Palm, died in 2016. The other, Taurus Grantham, died last fall. Both had ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Both Palm and Grantham stayed at Plateau's facility on June Avenue in Brooklyn Center. In Grantham's case, a Department of Health investigation found that a nurse failed to monitor Grantham's ventilator, which shut off due to a low battery and was not plugged in. Following news coverage of that event, Palm's family contacted police, stating similarities in their case. Plateau Healthcare is reportedly cooperating with the police investigation.
New Hope police say staff at a local thrift store did the right thing by calling police after a staff member found a possible live grenade in a donations box. The incident was called in Saturday night at the Unique thrift store on Winnetka Avenue. Police brought in the Minneapolis bomb squad. The grenade appeared lifelike. It wasn't hollow, so it's possible that it contained explosive material. According to New Hope police, the bomb squad x-rayed the device but couldn't immediately determine the status of it. It's also unclear when the grenade was donated, as staff were sorting through donations brought in over the past month. Police say such incidents are unusual but not uncommon. They say they've had to deal with donations of mortar shells that turned out to be inactive. More than 4 months ago, a man carrying a rifle entered Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, and began firing into classrooms.
He killed 17 people that day, but in the wake of that traumatic experience, students from the high school launched a movement. As Delane Cleveland reports, that movement made its way to Osseo Senior High School.
Thank you for being here. Yeah!
Change doesn't come easily, especially when it comes to issues surrounding guns.
They look at the country and they're like, what can I do to change any of this?
But students from Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida are on a nationwide tour hoping to defy the odds.
The goal of this tour is to register as many people as possible, to educate as many people as possible, and to get people motivated to vote.
Sunday night, the Parkland students made their way to Osseo Senior High for a town hall meeting, where a packed auditorium listened to them and other local students.
Gun violence cannot be my reality. It can't be anyone's reality.
Talk about issues surrounding gun violence.
A lot of people are sick and tired of what's been going on in our country, and they're following our lead, and they're just as much as sick of it as we are.
Chris Grady is one of the Parkland students on this March for Our Lives national tour. The tour is aimed at promoting initiatives on gun reform.
We don't touch the Second Amendment. Every single one of our policies is constitutional.
Such as universal background checks and a ban on high-capacity magazines.
They specifically wanted to come to our district because our Congressman, Eric Paulson, has taken NRA money, and they're going around highlighting the districts where politicians have taken NRA money and have been traditionally voting against these kinds of reforms that they're asking for.
Getting people registered to vote is another goal of this tour, along with energizing their supporters at every stop.
When I heard they were going on a road to change, I was just crossing my fingers that they'd come to Minnesota, and I knew I'd be the first one to sign up on a volunteering list. I knew I'd be there for it.
Now, the hope of this group is to keep the momentum going.
This is democracy at work. I mean, this is what our country is about.
In Osseo, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
While Congressman Eric Paulson has received money from the NRA, he has stated in the past that he supports a ban on bump stocks, which can turn firearms into automatic weapons. And he has expressed support for laws that allow police to seize guns from people deemed by a judge to be dangerous.
An event this week at Wayzata High School has students from around the country jumping for leadership. comes to mind when you think of a National Student Council conference, but this energetic kickoff is only the beginning of days of learning to lead. Wayzata was chosen in a nationwide search to host this year's conference. 800 student council members from all states, plus Puerto Rico and China, are learning leadership skills and taking part in service projects, all part of bringing ideas back home for their own student councils. Wayzata's principal says hosting the event is a real honor.
It's a chance to put our students with, 800 students from across the country and different parts of the world to really collaborate around good leadership and to decide, what that plan ought to be to develop and enhance culture within a school, to try to provide opportunities for more kids to belong to their school.
The conference goes through Wednesday. Local strawberry growers are playing catch-up this year because of the weather.
But as Eric Nelson reports, the berry season has begun.
2.
In the sprawling Twin Cities,
3.
the Bauer Berry Farm is an island,
Those are a lot.
smack dab in the middle of a concrete jungle.
When we started growing our strawberries, there were a lot of pick-your-own berry patches just within 10 miles. And now the closest one is probably 15, and the next closest one is another 30.
Mommy, this one already.
For Nancy Bauer and her family, strawberries are a passion. They've been growing berries for 41 years.
So we've gotten all our gray hair from the stress of strawberries.
Because of April snow, May heat, and sporadic June rain, this year's berry season is behind schedule, and there won't be a bumper crop in 2018.
What do I think about the crop? I think we're probably down to maybe 75% of a normal year.
Despite the delays, berry pickers flock to Bauer's farm today, looking for those little red gems.
They just taste good.
They performed their version of the strawberry calisthenics, bending, hunching over, and squatting throughout the field.
I had a lot of fun because we like to pick the strawberries.
A church group from Minneapolis came away with a bunch of berries and learned plenty in the process.
When they're small, they're not ripe, but when they're like medium or large, they're like ripe, and you have to make sure that the strawberries are red.
For these kids, strawberries are nature's sweet treat.
It's a little better than candy, but not too much.
It's also a chance for them to be outside in the elements, soaking up a summer day.
I like to be in nature. I'm kind of like a nature boy. And I eat strawberries all the time, but mostly with whipped cream.
The idea of buying local and participating in your food choices versus just the store choice, that's become more important in the young families.
If you haven't gotten your strawberries for the season, you better hurry up and get out to the fields and start picking. Bauer's could be closed by as soon as July 4th. In Champlin, I'm Eric Nelson, CCX News.
I agree, strawberries are a little bit better than candy. While June rainfall totals are close to normal, the rain has been inconsistent, either too much or too little, and that has contributed to the delayed strawberry season. A heads up for drivers traveling near Hennepin Technical College in Brooklyn Park. This week, crews are repaving a nearly mile-long stretch of Brooklyn Boulevard between the bridge over Highway 169 and Zeeland Avenue. Traffic can continue to use Brooklyn Boulevard, just expect delays and lane configuration changes. Depending on the weather, the work should be done in about 2 weeks. Summer is here, and that often signals an invitation for mosquitoes to come out, bug all of us.
The downside of it. However, officials with the Metropolitan Mosquito Control District say things aren't bad just yet, and they want to keep it that way.
There's, I believe, 52 different types of mosquitoes, and we do try to target just the ones that carry diseases, because there are certain species that are known to carry disease more than others.
On Monday, Mosquito Control targeted this neighborhood park in Plymouth. It's the perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes because of a wetland nearby. Crews used an aspirator, which is like a vacuum cleaner, to suck up the insects. Mosquitoes like to hide under leaves, so crews kick up the vegetation to make it easier for the machine to get at the bugs.
We're able to kick them up as they're sleeping to see what kind of mosquitoes are out there, to see if there's any vector mosquitoes or ones that are capable of carrying disease.
Once mosquitoes are caught, they are taken to a lab and then analyzed for disease. Still ahead on CCX News, a Brooklyn Center coffee company that emphasizes more than just a good cup of joe.
Plus, local players see how they stack up against the state's best at the Play Ball Minnesota All-Star Baseball Tournament.
But first, a chance of rain moves in on Tuesday. We'll be right back.
Whether you like it served hot or cold, black or with cream, there's a lot that goes into your cup of coffee.
In this week's Business Matters, we head to Brooklyn Center, where there is a wholesale coffee roasting company that's putting the environment at the center of its cup of joe.
We're doing a medium roast Peru coffee, and it's just about to the end of its roast.
At Tiny Footprint Coffee,
this is my trier, so I can check out the coffee as it's roasting.
There's an art and a science.
Right now the coffee is cooling down
to roasting a good coffee bean.
I can produce many different flavors with it, depending on how I ramp up the heat, how fast I roast it.
Tweaking the coffee's flavor isn't the only thing this wholesale coffee roasting company is doing to set itself apart.
You drink coffee, we plant trees is one of our slogans.
At Tiny Footprint Coffee, the roaster boasts this is the world's first carbon negative coffee.
What we do that's different is, as we're selling the coffee, executing our business, we fund reforestation in Ecuador.
For every pound of coffee sold, Tiny Footprint donates a portion of the sales to reforestation efforts in Ecuador.
Trees, the forest that's regenerating, absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere that more than offsets the carbon footprint of us running our business, roasting coffee, shipping the coffee.
Since launching the brand in 2010, this company has seen steady growth, sourcing organic fair trade coffees and the idea of sustainability to restaurants, coffee houses, and other customers around the world.
It takes a lot more work to meld the two together, to find those coffees that are produced, and there's a fair trade value going on for the workers.
I think that people really enjoy that part of our business. It attracts people to us. It also makes the doing business, working every day, feel meaningful. It's more than just making money. It's more than just transactions.
This business is pushing the envelope. Its cold-pressed, nitrogen-infused Nitro Brew is on tap at Metro locations. But whether it's served cold or hot, customers of Tiny Footprint Coffee have a few additional reasons to love this cup of joe. Tiny Footprint Coffee can be purchased on the company's website. They also offer weekly classes for the public on coffee brewing. You can learn how to be a barista and all kinds of different things over there.
It looks good.
Still ahead, a Brooklyn Park youth baseball game gets a big league atmosphere.
But first, hear from competitors from the northwest suburbs at the State High School Clay Target Tournament. John Jacobson is in next.
I'm John Jacobson with sports. The Play Ball Minnesota High School All-Star Baseball Series started as the Lions All-Star Series back in the mid-1970s. Now in its 44th year, the two-day tournament brings together the top players from this year's senior class. Metro North in the orange uniforms facing Metro West in green in one of the pool play games from Saturday. Seth Halverson of Heritage Christian Academy coming off a state championship a week earlier. It's the strikeout here in the first inning, and they'll face Paxton Thompson from St. Michael Albertville and strikes him out as well. The starter on the other side, Champlain Park's Max Loven, is very good too. Owen fans Aaron Wookmere of Minnetonka, one of 6 strikeouts for Loven in 3 innings of pitching. But a pitch in the dirt here, gets to the backstop and scores Zach Elliott of Eden Prairie with the first run of the game. Metro West leads 1-0 in the third. Halverson allows just 1 hit and no runs in his 4 innings of work, striking out Armstrong's Braden Gray to end the 4th. Metro West offense produces an insurance run in the top of the 6th. Michael Wallace from Minneapolis Southwest doubles to the base of the fence. Michael Thomas of Washburn scores. Brent Bergen of Maple Lake earns the save as Metro West wins 2-0. They went on to win the series as well, beating Metro East in the final. It's a big softball weekend coming up in Brooklyn Center. The 36th annual Dudley-Budweiser Classic brings together some of the nation's top teams in our area. The Dudley is in a later time slot this season, starting Friday and running through Sunday, July 1st. There's also a women's division this season. We'll have more on the Dudley with new tournament director Scott Brown Tuesday here on CCX News. The final high school tournament of the 2017-18 school year wrapped up Friday. As Jay Wilcox reports, the Clay Target Championship featured a number of local teams in this growing sport.
The Minneapolis Gun Club was a fun place to be to wrap up the season for local shooters. It was a return visit for the Wayzata team, while Maple Grove and Champlain Park were newcomers to this state event that featured the top 40 teams.
It's exciting, you know, it's fun to be out here shooting and enjoy the sport.
Yeah, it's new, first time we've been here, so it feels good. It was good. It was a close run at Alex. I finished with 37th, but it feels nice to be here.
It's a real achievement for us, I feel like, because we weren't here last year, and I've never been able to see, I've been here at this gun club once, and be able to see all these really good shooters is really cool because we're part of it.
Trap shooting is up to 349 teams with about 12,000 participants in Minnesota. While having teams flourish in rural areas isn't a surprise, the sport is booming in the suburbs too. Many of the schools in our area now have teams.
We have a gun club actually right in the neighborhood, right like a mile away from our high school, but it's really amazing how, like, in the suburbs and city schools, they still have teams for this.
Yeah, it's awesome. We live right in the middle of the city, and we can come out to Metro or go wherever we want and go shoot, and it's really cool because it's not like only rural people are shooting, it's everyone's shooting, everyone's included.
And while many are very accomplished shooters who have been at it for years, beginners are welcome too.
I'd say it's about half and half. We get a couple new kids each year, but definitely get better. Yeah, so about half and half.
Boys and girls shoot, and it's a great mix of sizes and ages too. Jay Wilcox, CCX Sports.
Champlain Park placed 7th and Wayzata 9th in the team competition. Sam Winkles of Wayzata was the top local shooter in the individual competition. He tied for 9th place with a score of 99 out of 100.